Coming to you live on the Government Access Channel from Mario Bagnoni Chambers in beautiful downtown Erie. It's the Taxpayers Hotline Show with your hosts, Kaz Kwiatkowski and John Steiner.
There's a couple of characters for you. What's up, Kaz?
Would it be fair to say that would take a royal flush to beat that pair?
You know, at least. Three of a kind isn't going to do it. Straight, forget it.
Yeah.
Flush.
Not even a flush, no.
No. Yeah.
The big one.
Four of a kind, maybe. Four of a kind or
Yeah,
close.
Yeah, close.
How was your week?
Not bad. How about yours?
It was really good, actually. The weather was nice. You know, did the work thing, did the golf thing. I love golf. That's my new passion.
A frustrating endeavor.
I tell you, golf is one of the hardest sports I've ever played. You have to be, golf is a lot of mental. You know, you got to be, each swing has to be precise, the follow through, the club choice. The weather's been perfect for it. I mean, other than today.
Invented by drunk madmen.
Yeah, really.
Who else would create such a game?
Yeah, right. Well, there's, speaking of games, the Browns, what happened to them last night? Huh?
As predicted, I figured they would lose, not as close as they did.
I thought they were going to lose by a little bit more too.
I blame it to some degree. The injuries they knew were coming, but the defense played actually pretty good.
They did.
The problem seems to be, like they teach in the Army, when you're in charge, you're in charge.
Right.
You don't try to do everything. And the head coach trying to run the offense,
Yeah.
and his offensive coordinator basically being, he's Geppetto and the other one
Yeah,
is,
he just stands around and pretends like.
yeah, I think he's got to let the young guy, Monken, run the offense.
But on a good note, who's in last place in that division?
Oh, it was great news. I was at a local establishment
local
having dinner with my wife,
Yeah.
and there were tears, and I go, well, you know what?
Yeah.
It comes to everybody.
They're not used to that, Cass.
Oh,
They're not
their
used to it.
empire will someday come to an end too. They all do.
Oh, I think it has now. We have a caller. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, hi. I'm calling about a new law that happened in Colorado that was decided by the 10th District.
Okay.
And that law is.
It's about women can choose to go topless, and the federal judge in the 10th District legally decided that this is acceptable for the 6 states that reside in the 10th District. And my question is, would the city be against or with this type of law if it would come to Erie?
Well, that's a moot question because it's not here. No one's ever brought it up.
So it's not moot. A federal judge already decided this is a law.
Only in that district.
Yeah, that's true. See,
But if you remember, we had this debate about. Let's go back to a few years. We had this debate about in Erie about topless dancing, and it took the Supreme Court
no, but
to
the
grant a ruling. You know.
judge decided that the going topless in that district protect women's freedoms under the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution.
You mean walk around town?
What?
You mean?
Yeah, if they choose to, because it's their freedoms under the Constitution, the right of equal protection.
Well, here's the problem, John. John, here's the problem.
Yeah.
As a person who has studied the law a little bit, okay.
Okay.
You have a law degree?
Do I? No, but I have some credits in law.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, that means I got and I do know a lot of lawyers. Here's the problem you deal with. Okay. First of all, this law is I'd have to read it whether it's the state Supreme Court. The federal judge ruled because they took it to court. There was probably an ordinance written somewhere in Colorado, which is a very liberal state right now.
Right.
Beautiful state. It's a very beautiful state, the Rocky Mountains.
But here's the problem that women pose. And a few years ago, we had rules that said women couldn't vote, women couldn't serve in combat, women could not participate equally in sports. So I think it's an extension of, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree with it, but if you're going to allow men to walk around with shirts off, the women naturally going to ask, why can't I? And people are gonna answer, well, that's the way we've always done it, and society rules that way. So now somebody apparently took it to a court to decide, and here's the thing, that court may rule yes, another court may rule no, and it'll probably go to the, federal or state Supreme Court for clarification. And who knows how that'll turn out.
Something like this happened in the city of Erie.
Well, if it did, we'd have to deal with it, but nobody, right now we have ordinances against it, okay? Not specifically, I don't think, but they would fall under some generally interpreted principles of law. And so, yes, if it was challenged, which any law can be challenged. Remember this, we said that you are not allowed to carry a weapon in a public park. And other communities have done the same thing. And what happened, they took it to the court, and the state Supreme Court decided that interpreting the state constitution, that they were allowed to carry weapons in the park and under the open, what do you call it, John?
Yes, we have to comply with the Constitution and law of the land.
Right, so somebody's challenging Colorado, either on the state or federal level, and they want and a federal judge ruled that now they have to, somebody's gonna have to do some research and say, and apparently, if you told me you're right, they have determined that it has never been said they could or couldn't.
But if this would happen in the city of Erie, would city council vote against it or with it?
I'll vote for
That's hard to, that's really hard to say, because A, it has to happen first, and B, everybody's, that's gonna be one of those things where,
Very common. See, a lot of women take off their tops to walk around the beach, city public events.
I don't think
Indecent exposure. Okay, they don't get indicted on it. But if a guy does
well, let me ask you a question first, okay? And I'm not playing yes or no on this, okay?
Yeah.
Who made the rule?
the voters.
No, they never did. Society made a norm many years ago that decided that women could not, they had to dress a certain way. We did that in the churches. Women had to wear little doilies on their head. Women were not allowed to wear pants to church. They had to wear skirts.
But society always violated the right of equal protection to women.
Well, men made that rule, but there's nothing. I can remember years ago, if you read some.
This guideline that society did. See, society views women to be second-class citizens.
Well, I mean, let me ask you: are you in favor of them walking around topless?
If the law says someone can do it, then it's legally acceptable. See, laws made at a judge's signature, and if a judge says it's okay, then it's legally okay.
I mean, look what happens in other countries. They clothe their women entirely.
I mean, the Muslim.
Yeah, and they look at us like our women are like prostitutes the way they dress.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are society norms. No law was ever made. Men made the laws at that time, and men had applied certain norms. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying these are discussions you get when men make decisions based on what they think should be the norm. And whether, I'm not saying how I was brought up, because I was brought up a certain way, okay?
Texas, see, city council in Erie does not have a whole lot of women. No one's representing the woman's vote under the Equal Protection Clause.
Well, something like this would be a very hot topic, I can guarantee you that. I mean, we went through this with topless dancing in Erie, and it was
They couldn't even go topless indoors.
Indoors under law,
Let alone walk into country fair.
Protection of the Constitution. Constitution is supposed to be the law of the land. There's nothing in there about what.
Just remember one thing: women are taking over this country. They're getting more politically active, and pretty soon, people are going to have to listen to them.
I don't think this is a touchy subject. I don't know if I want to comment on it.
No, I'm just saying that's what's going to happen.
I mean, honestly, I don't think the problem would be with the women. It would be with us dumb men who would be following them around and acting.
Yep.
I mean, they would just lead to. It wouldn't be a problem with them.
You got to go back to the Bible and read that one passage. And with that, I got to let you go. Okay, sir?
Thanks for calling.
I'm a Muslim man.
Thanks for calling.
Well, read the Quran then.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm serious.
I didn't want to touch that subject, but I mean, seriously.
Well, I'm not afraid to touch it.
Now, for them, for the women, I get it. I understand it if they wanted to. But here's the thing: we're like.
I always ask this question: who wrote the norms and the laws?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, I never really thought about it, but I guess,
If you go back to when I was a kid, women, even their role in society.
Yeah.
When a woman got pregnant in school, they sent her home.
I mean.
Remember that? Do you remember those days? Or
Yeah.
you don't,
Yeah.
do you?
No, I mean, still.
They
when I
sent
was
your
in school,
teacher home
yeah.
for, you weren't supposed to see that.
Yeah, I mean,
You
I mean, as a guy, I mean, for some reason, I don't know, when we see it, we just get real stupid all of a sudden. I don't get it, but.
Well, you know what? It's something I'm not worrying about because
I'm sure most of them wouldn't. I mean, I'm a guy, I'm allowed to go shirtless, but believe me, you don't want me to. You know what I'm saying? It's not the six-pack days are over.
But I can remember when there were rules of women got kicked off of beaches for wearing stuff today that we'd look at as saying,
With dental floss.
"Are you kidding me?"
I mean, great. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, the norms have changed.
Society changes.
I could see Colorado, dude. They're all high.
Well, society changes. I mean, it's like anything else. We evolve.
I mean, but look at, Colorado legalized marijuana. Pretty soon they'll be blazing up over at the park. I mean, legally. So at first I thought he was talking about inside of a strip club.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he meant walking around,
I'm not worrying about
walking
that.
in the subway.
That's not something I'm worrying about.
No, we'll be long gone before that happens.
Go ahead.
Yes, hi. I want to comment on the city. I think that on the roads, from all the potholes from the summer, like the repair was done very good on a lot of the side streets. I noticed the potholes aren't as many as what there were. Also, when they did the paving of the streets, it was done really timely, and also they had additional men on the streets department crews to help with the paving.
Well, remember, we pave it with both our people and private sector. So we have contracts with some contractors too. But you were pleased with what they did, right?
Yeah, this year it went faster because they had a lot more guys instead of having maybe like 3 guys for a whole street or something. I counted a couple times like 15.
I'll pass that on to them. They'll love to hear that.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, and these were like city employees because they had on like the orange shirts.
Yeah, because when we do this, there's so many streets that we farm out to private contractors because there's just too much work.
She's right. I've noticed a lot. A lot of the guys are out there working, and I work at night, so I'm coming home early, like 6 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and I do see a lot of the street sweepers out there already doing their thing, and then I see a lot of the city guys. Back in the day, it was always one guy holding the rake, or one guy doing the work, and 7 guys standing around.
What the big difference today is? We don't have that many guys.
Yeah, right.
And you know what? You show up like a sore thumb, and you'll be eliminated.
Yeah. So I mean, I do catch them doing. I do pay attention to that stuff, and I have seen a lot of guys doing what they're supposed to be doing for the most part.
Yeah, and also too, I think it's nice too. I noticed like they have like it looks like Napoleons every day. A whole group of people, they go and they clean up the whole downtown areas. Are these people that work for the city, or are these just volunteers? Or
I would guess, I'd have to check into that.
There's
They
two
could be
different
with
things.
John, right?
Yeah, they're probably with John Buckner and the
Downtown Improvement District.
downtown, right? The downtown partnership. And this past weekend they had a lot again, and I'm pretty sure they were doing cleanups at the Gridley Park. I noticed.
Yeah, those are volunteer there.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times, ma'am, the people, the Downtown Improvement District, which is a separate organization that actually taxes themselves, they hire people, and that could be Nepalese or.
Matter of fact,
And they do clean up, get paid for it a little bit.
on my way down here, I did notice people, where we have the trees, and
Yeah.
they were cleaning out the areas around the trees.
They might have given them like some jobs.
They may contract. They probably contract out too for some of the stuff, but
I'll check with John Buckner and see if he's
they do
doing
do
that.
snow removal for sure because they have a bobcat that they use.
Oh, they have some regular crew members,
Yeah.
but I think from time to time they hire summer help too, though.
Yeah, which would make sense.
I think it looks good because it makes the city look better instead of it looking like a little dumpy, and these people
Yeah.
really have pride in it.
Well, what they did was years ago, they agreed to levy a tax on them. They had to vote on it, and it's only in a prescribed district downtown, but they actually assess taxes. We collect the money, and then we give it right directly to the downtown district.
I'm pretty sure the
And
district,
they you know, they hire, they do different things like acquiring plants, planners, you know, they use the money for whatever they want.
I'm pretty sure the district itself stretches from Sass to French, from the Bayfront to the
It ends,
railroad
it
tracks.
ends just short of I think it goes up to Juniors, and that's about it.
The railroad tracks,
Yeah.
you know, but,
We've had some people that want to join it on the other side.
yeah, and that, they should, because that plaza up above the railroad tracks there where what's that group in there? They're doing a good job. They got.
The trouble you get is it gets so big that they gotta be able to handle their district. But yeah, they do a nice job, man. I'll try, you know, I'm gonna try to get Johnny Buckner back on here. He can explain to
The arts,
the public.
the arts community, they've picked up, you know, they're renovating that building up there. They're starting to.
You mean that old market house?
Yeah.
That's at Sam Tannenbaum, or?
I cannot remember, but it's on as soon as I know it, but you're right, ma'am. It is looking pretty good.
It is, and it seems like people are priding themselves, and I know more people are going downtown and stuff, you know.
Well, when I was a young man, the merchants actually, you would see them every morning. They would have their hoses out, and they would put like flags out, or they'd water the flowers in front of their businesses. And, you know, it was a nice thing, and there was pride then. And I think for a few years it just dropped off as the merchants died out, and, you know.
Well, as a community, it goes through a renaissance too. You know?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, now we have a lot of major investments going on, so I tell you, if people actually rode around between Millionaires Row over here and
Yeah,
the Erie Insurance area, they are dropping a lot of dough in these areas to revitalize the downtown.
But see, now our big thing is we have to go into the neighborhoods and do the same.
It starts, you know, saying that's the way you're supposed to start in certain areas.
Yeah.
And then it works out.
See, it wasn't supposed to start downtown necessarily, but here's the thing.
Well, that's where the investments are.
Well, Buki said in his report,
Yeah,
I would not have you start there first,
yeah.
but when the money becomes available, you gotta go where the money is.
According to the Buki report, you would start in what would be considered a middle area. Because then, you know, then it starts raising the value of the lower.
They also said,
Area.
if the money is there, you take advantage of it.
Well, you have to maximize your grant money. So, you know, if you start here, you know, like they bought the Hands building.
Yeah.
So, you know, they have that money, then they get matching funds.
Now, if we get some money for another area of the city and the
Well,
neighborhood,
that's where the land banks and the other programs are supposed to kick in, which they are.
well, it's gonna take a while, cause it's,
Oh, I mean, it took us 100 years to go down. Hopefully it won't take us, I think it's starting to
Yeah.
improve, but,
the thing is keeping it up though, that's,
yeah. Anything else, caller?
yeah, I also too, since you guys are talking about the, improving the downtown area and stuff, I don't know, I was just looking, what about all the high rises where the low income people live? Is that gonna be bought up by some of these, corporate organization, and what's gonna happen to all those people?
well, they haven't announced it yet, but if you look at what they did with, locally with, let's say El DeLuca's property, they gave them very generous,
Yeah, we talked about that.
how do you put it, John?
Severance packages?
Severance
I guess, or
packages.
relocation. What they did was they gave them, the people that lived there, they gave them $2,500. To pay their next apartment's last month's rent. They paid them to move, to have a moving company move their things. And so I ran into somebody that I knew over at the Erie Festival. And, not one person in the building is complaining about it. Matter of fact, it was really, because they don't have to do that. But, I mean, the EDDC, they're not just gonna throw people to the street. And the inside of some of these older structures, it's not good. But you can't just kick people out, and that wouldn't be right. And so they need a better place. You can't throw somebody out of somewhere and, throw them onto the street. There has to be someplace better.
But really, warehousing people and high rises and all that, they got away from that in Chicago.
Yeah,
The South Side, which had housing projects with 20, 30-story buildings there, they decided that wasn't the way of doing it,
yeah.
If you look around town, you actually see more, what do you call it, smaller homes
Yeah. Well-
that are dispersed throughout the neighborhoods.
Yeah. So, like where senior citizens are involved, like one example of better housing for seniors would be they renovated the school. It's out there in Wesleyville. There was an old school just abandoned, and now they're senior living homes. So,
But not warehousing people,
it's way better than
yeah.
like the Richford Arms. From what I understand, it's really
Well, they did that because
just old.
They did that because there was government money available.
Yeah.
They thought it was a good idea, but no other cities are doing it like we are. They're starting to, people should have the right to experience different parts of the city.
Yeah, but I mean, in a downtown, in your urban core, you need people with disposable income, because if any business or any company looks to relocate,
Right.
they're going to look at. I mean, for us, we're just the number. They're looking at the numbers. So as far as a number crunch with the downtown, I mean, we look into are Dollar Generals. So you can't really, you have to be more. You want to be able to. Your spreadsheet needs to be able to support more than Dollar Generals.
Okay, so if these people, if they get the money from like the downtown partnership, the people in the high rises or in Mr. DeLuca's building, the rents were really cheap there. How can these people afford to move anyplace else where the rents are higher?
Well, they're trying to find them suit the same. If you read the newspaper article, and John's a little closer to some of the people than I am, they have made a concerted effort to work with realtors and other places with similar financial arrangements.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they even pointed out in the paper that they realize that some of the people that are living there would not be able to live in a normal neighborhood because of their, how should we put it, their criminal records or their drug records. So, that's why they were kind of warehouse where they were, no questions asked, So, but now they've worked with realtors where, and people that have available housing that are offering the same level. For instance, I don't know, but like some of the housing they're building along Parade Street, that may qualify too,
If the low income population, they get the Section 8 housing, I mean, they can pretty much move around to where they want to move to. And as long as it's Section 8 approved, et cetera, which, that would coincide with what the Housing Authority is doing. And, with the land bank and these other programs, that's how you get if they're going to have to move somewhere, it needs to be somewhere where they want to move, where it's better.
And look at all those houses we're building along 19th Street now.
A lot of people are, yeah, exactly. Like, a lot of people are concerned about, what's the word where the rich kick out? Gentrification. But there's a difference between what's going on in my personal opinion. I think that the people that are coming in with spending the money are making sure that these areas that they take over, people aren't just kicked to the curb.
If in gentrification, they would come in, bulldoze a building, say tough luck.
Yeah, they'd be like, everybody be standing at the bus stop.
Like, good luck, we're building we're building an arena here or headquarters.
You don't have you guys had anybody at that podium complaining about from the DeLucas or any of those buildings about?
Not yet. Not from there directly. We have people that are against the whole process.
Of course.
But I haven't heard anybody that's been
Well, then that's
asked to leave.
Somebody, you have to find a fine line. between what's right and then what's right for the city as an entirety.
I mean, if I had a choice between living in a little apartment or maybe a moderate-sized house, you know, and I could
That's
afford
where all
both.
that's where all these programs like the Land Bank and the Housing Authority and all these people work together and create better housing opportunities while these,
And don't forget, we got organizations that want to renovate these houses, church groups
yeah,
that are willing to, you know, like the ones that do the school.
yeah.
You know, they're out there. I've had offers from these people that they want us to make it easier for them to go in there without a lot of restrictions.
Yeah.
And fix up housing for people.
I mean, when these high rises were built and all that money was put into the Boston store, I'm sure they didn't feel that, you know, that it was for Section 8 housing.
No, here's the problem. If you renovate a high rise like the Richford, you can't do it with subsidized housing.
Right.
So, you know, you have to get people that are willing to pay.
The whole idea of market rate housing, and if you have people with disposable income, then you'll start getting grocery stores, drug stores, other, you know, I can't remember this, demographic study. When somebody does a demographic study in our area, then all the businesses will start spreading out, which
Yeah, 'cause
only adds to the
Look what you got
the west
downtown
side
now.
and the east side.
We've lost all of our grocery stores that were downtown or in the area, you know,
Right, because nobody would look at a demographic study of the city.
and invest in it.
And we had 16501, where I grew up in, and say, this is a good place to open up store.
No, you're gonna get
The demographics are
a dollar store or some,
Dollar General or Dollar Tree.
nothing against them. They're just, you know.
No, I mean, I like them. I mean, I go there myself, but Dollar Generals, that's all, you know, a demographic study would show we can support. Anything else?
Yeah, thank you for the highlights of the city and the ideas. I'll be watching and seeing.
Well, you know, keep tuned because things are moving real fast.
Yep, thanks for calling.
Okay, bye, thank you.
I think, you know, there is a plan. Like, you know, in some towns, they would come in with a bulldozer. They'd buy the land and guess what?
Eat it.
You got 30 days to,
But you know how, you know, the EDDC and that whole group, they're far too, they actually, these people are local people.
yeah.
They care about what's going on.
And, you know, here's the thing. They say, well, like all the social agencies are downtown. Well, maybe if people start spreading out like they should.
Yeah,
And, you know, why should they be warehoused
yeah,
and hidden in one part of the county?
yeah.
You know, they should have this, if they want to live out in, you know,
You can't have nonprofits taking up 50% of your community
no.
and expect the normal tax-paying base within the city limits to support it. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, you know what I like the most about the city?
What's that?
The quality of life ordinance. That the code enforcement doesn't take care of. Moss tries to take care of it. And there's the mayor going around patting everybody's back.
How many times you heard me yell at the council meeting, John?
He's ready to burn.
John, how many times you heard me yell about it?
Too many times to send it to the mayor and everything else, and he still violates the burning ordinance.
Well, they don't get it. I'm telling you, I rode around town the other day, and there's little things that could be done. I'm not talking about major things.
Well, it's a major thing if people can't breathe.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like the other day,
Hell with it.
I came down Route 8, well, Pine Avenue in the city, and right down about, I'd say about 29th or 30th Street, there's a cloud of smoke coming across the road. Now, you know they're burning, right, John?
Sure.
Nobody sees it, though.
No,
Good.
the code enforcement, what are they doing? Why are they backing into their checks?
Oh, I wondered because I drove down Parade Street again today. There's a vehicle that's been there a week and a half with no license plate, and I marvel at that. But then they're parked on sidewalks. We got weeds. We got all kinds of issues. Couches all over the place.
They can't be everywhere at all times.
But it can't be nowhere either. Okay?
I tell you right now, the rental people are out doing their thing.
Code
The rental
enforcement
inspections.
officer,
The rental people are private industry.
Well, they're doing their thing.
they're checked backwards. Zimmerman should be fired
I
Have
mean,
you ever had your city hall inspected for fireproof doors, fire extinguishers, or whatever? I bet you never have.
Here's my,
He works he works on Marsh Street.
here's how the code enforcement, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. They are out there doing,
They're out there doing nothing.
I've seen them, they have, this woman was calling them about a situation that I'm aware of. The code enforcement was there, and they were doing what they were supposed to do.
Did they cite her?
They didn't, well, they made them make,
They didn't cite her, did they?
no, they made the major improvements, is what they ended up doing.
but that's one example.
That's just, I can't,
One little example, but when you talk about somebody burning for over a year and a half, I called 911 and told them it wasn't an emergency and nothing was done. I'm not calling the fire department to have them go out, because that's a waste of manpower and money.
Yet they tell you have to.
Person.
Yet they tell you have to.
But I don't want to. I don't want to risk a fireman's life.
Here's what I hear on TV.
Jackass.
I hear that we don't have adequate ordinances to attack certain issues. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And so my question has always been to them, why don't you suggest what ordinances you want council to pass? That's your job. If you think we have a hole in one of our ordinances, look, we don't get hired as council people to know everything. You know, if that's your job and you see that, and you attend conferences and you find out that, you know, we got a hole in our ordinance, we got something that should be taken care of, then come to council. Come to council, come to your liaison, and tell them, you know, we need an ordinance. Now, you see how fast everybody moved when the 5 children died.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, oh yeah, we knew. Well, if you knew about that ordinance, it should have been changed a long time ago.
And sure, you know,
It's not up to council to know all these things. That's why you're getting paid to do a job. Now, John, I agree with you. They do it once in a while.
well, you know, you
But
have
if
a
you
part.
walk around town, okay, and you look around, you got 2 bars that opened up. Nobody knows if they're right or wrong, but nobody's checked them either, up until somebody complained.
And what good has that done? Nothing. Yet, where's code enforcement? Why, they don't want to go down there. They might risk
think
their
they
little
did.
body.
You know, when we had all the problems, John remembers this, we had all the problems on 38th and 37th with the college kids.
yeah.
And Mercyhurst, and I have to give them credit, they put money into a fund for us to go out there and pay our guys to go out at night
Oh, really?
and clean up the mess, yeah. Remember that, John?
Yep.
Jimmy Thompson was alive. Guess how many citations they wrote?
Well,
Very, very,
but
very few.
my Yankees are in again. Hey,
To
by the way,
the
there's
people that
a new.
were violating them, the owners of the property, the people who were having parties, who were burning at night, who were parking cars up on lawns without permits.
The owners weren't doing it. It was the,
Still doing it
You
on
are
38th
responsible
Street.
for your property. John, you can't play that game where you say, am I right, John?
Yeah.
You can't say just because I own a property, I'm not responsible
Here's,
for it.
you want me, here's what upsets me though, John, that you brought up, John. It seems like the code enforcement people, they come to, they not stick it to, but they're more stringent with local homeowners than owners that live out of town.
And why is that?
It's easier.
Here's, if you went to a JP,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
not JP, DJ now, District Justice.
yeah.
When you cite a property, you cite the homeowner. Okay?
Right.
At the end of the day, does the county bill you for taxes, or do they bill the homeowner, if you're a renter?
The owner.
Why? Then who should be cited? If you've been warned, okay, you arrest, you take charges against those that are monkeying around, and then you cite the owner and say, hey, you're on notice that, the people you're renting to are running parties, or parking up on the lawn, that's your property, okay?
Yeah. Well, a lot of these people, they have these LLCs. These
Well, you know what, there you go, John, okay?
Yeah.
But I don't wanna hear about it, okay? Because if I got
Gotta be.
John, who they come after, you and I screw up, right?
Yeah, I mean, but that's what it is.
What?
We
That
should-
doesn't release them from obligation.
We should have some type of
Cite them. Cite them.
cite the people that
Let's
live
go to
out
court.
of town.
I love going to court. You know why?
Start putting liens on
Yeah,
things.
I love going- I love-
Easier to put liens on.
That's why we pay a solicitor. Let's go to court. Right, John?
True. Hey, talking about the solicitor, where does he stand in saving the city money? Do you get a report on that?
We did as of last year. I haven't looked at it this year. I can get a copy. He did save us money last year. We did look into it. And it did work. I had to admit it. I haven't seen one this year, but I will check with Liz Ellen. She's a liaison to that department.
She's a sharp little lady. She doesn't let anything get under the cracks. I thought I wasn't going to like her.
But her and I have we're interesting. If we team up on like issues, it can be an interesting day. But no, I agree. She does her homework, and I will talk to her because she works. That's her department, the solicitor's office.
Maybe she ought to look into getting the ordinances that are worthless on the books, like a gentleman did, and they told him to stop.
What's that?
Taking the old ordinances off the books that weren't doing any good.
Oh, Ruby did that a number of years ago.
Larry Meredith started too, and
Well, I think Ruby had him do it. She went in there and they only got to like half the book. And they released stuff that was dealing with streetcars and,
oh yes.
well, I mean, see, once they're on there, nobody ever, like a lot of times what you will see it now today.
A lot of people have to realize that city council is only a part-time position, but it's like
Well, what'll happen
people
though?
expect the world out of you for your
Well,
$5,000.
what's supposed to happen is like, and it happens now,
Yeah.
like when we pass a new ordinance, like we did with certain things this year, you will see they will give us a copy where they strike out the old ordinance.
Yeah.
Or words in there. And sometimes they'll say, you'll see in the book, this ordinance supersedes and gets rid of the other ordinance entirely. And they'll take that ordinance, but sometimes, like John says, we had ordinances about, which dealt with health issues in the old days, like spitting on the sidewalk. Yeah. That was for a specific reason.
Right.
Back when tuberculosis was evident.
Right.
And so they had that, you had chasing streetcars.
I mean, what city council member would have time to go through those?
Ruby did, and she,
Yeah.
you remember?
Unless you're retired and.
But I agree with you, John, we should probably do that someday. You know what, that's a good job for, kids from Gannon, like, that are studying,
There you
political
go.
science, let them do it during the summer.
When I went to Gannon for criminal justice, we had a whole department that could deal with that law, laws and stuff like that.
Well, I gotta go. I talked to you about Colorado, but who cares? Have a great.
We have to get, our Colorado,
Yeah,
envoy on.
I haven't heard from him. But for city council, I mean, you guys, people expect a lot out of a part-time position, and like I'm on the Human Relations Commission for the county, and Kathy Schaaf comes into the meeting. I was like, wow, okay. And I respect people that
Well, each one of us has a,
liaison.
Yeah.
I
and how we,
commend, that tells me that
when we hand them out, we try to do it, we try to ask people, do you think you can make the meetings?
because there's some liaisons that don't even know who their liaisons are. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, what do you say, guys? Hey, maybe you don't know the answer, you can't answer, but whatever happened to that Arrington? We never heard anything more about her legal problems.
Well, that's between her and her attorney, and quite frankly, there's nothing council can do about it or the city. I don't, at this point, I couldn't tell you anything, but that's, between her and her attorney. And
Yeah, because that was supposed to come out last February.
yeah, but like if you watch some of these trials on TV, God, they've taken what, sometimes they take 2 and 3 years to even get to before they're heard.
The process takes a while.
Yeah, and you don't know what her lawyer's doing, whether he's appealing or he's asking for extensions. That I couldn't tell you.
That whole situation is very unfortunate.
It's really going to be a moot point because in December, she'll be done,
Yeah.
and but there's nothing the government can do about it. The Constitution clearly gives her the right to,
I mean, I don't know the judge, I'm not judging people, but personally, I like Sonia. I mean, I do, I think she's, I don't know, I'm not, put all that junk aside, personally, I like Sonia.
no, I work with her, but here's the thing, I mean, I don't know anything about her personal problems.
Right.
She
We're all
doesn't-
just so quick to judge.
She doesn't have to tell me anything, and you know what?
Yeah, if she was working at any other business, she'd get slapped on the wrist just like everybody else.
All I know is it takes sometimes 2 or more years to, bring anything. I mean, you watch, just look around town about the things that people were found guilty the other day.
Yeah.
Were 2 years ago, you know.
Yeah. So the wheels of justice are slow, and it's just a really unfortunate situation. But personally, I think I like her. You know, we don't hang out, but I mean, when I see her around, we're pleasant to each other. It's a sad situation.
But she did announce she's not running again, so.
Yeah. Gonna have some new faces.
You still there, sir? Oop, you must have hung up. Yeah, I mean, that's all I can say is, you know.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate
She announced she's
situation.
not running in.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I mean, she has to take care of that business and, you know, see how things work. I wish her well. I hope everything works out for her. But, I mean, it does put you guys in a tough predicament, but, you know.
One thing about the Commonwealth, in most states, we harp about gambling, drinking, smoking.
Yeah,
Boy, they bring in a lot of money from the
I'm just gonna
Commonwealth.
say, I mean.
And what are they
everything's-
doing with gambling?
Everything's bad, but they're like,
What are they doing with gambling now? They're expanding it.
yeah, they're like, how much? Wait, how much can I make on that?
They're expanding it,
What?
aren't they, John?
Now you can bet on football games, and you can make how much letting them bet?
You know what my wife laughed at?
Yeah.
There's an outfit on TV. You can book online with it. I guess it's legal.
Oh, yeah,
And she laughed because they were joking about,
like FanDuel and all, you can bet right on your phone. I got friends that work.
but they were joking about something that you weren't betting on the game. You were betting on, and I told her this happens up in Niagara Falls. Because I was up there one day when they had a bet about which color, would he wear a sweatshirt or not, and what color would it be? Roger Clemens. And people look and go, you gotta be kidding. I said, no, people bet on anything.
Absolutely. When I went up I was at the grand opening,
Yeah.
and I was looking at the betting machines. You can bet on a soccer game in Bangladesh
Yeah.
if you wanted to.
Well, it's big in England. You know, in England, when you watch soccer?
This isn't even England. I'm talking Bangladesh.
No, but it's big, John. They got the odds right there. You know, they tell
Oh
you.
yeah, you could bet on. I mean, when you scroll through the machine, it's like anything you want. Cricket, anything.
Hey, my team was sponsored by a casino.
Yeah.
At one time. Now try that in the United States, right?
Yeah, right.
I remember when they wouldn't let George Steinbrenner buy the Indians because he owned a horse track in Florida.
Yeah, right. Was that the Tampa Bay area or something?
Yeah, and you know, then today we laugh at that, but you know, we got a team in Las Vegas.
Pretty soon.
You would have never saw that, right?
No, now you're allowed to bet on sports books,
Well, you can bet on anything. You can bet on
which hasn't hurt the bookies, by the way. It hasn't.
you know, how many hits will a guy get, or
You know, that's I'm thinking. I thought, well, hey, they legalized gambling now, so that's going to put the bookies out of business. Well, guess what? It hasn't, because you have to drive up to the casino.
I think it's put a little hit in them, though.
Well, I'm sure it's, yeah, I mean, it's cut into their profits a little
You remember
bit.
years ago when you see these guys?
Not much.
You remember these guys shuffling around town selling the daily number?
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah, I remember when I was a kid. You had to know who they were, right?
Oh, right.
And then you had to know they were trustworthy.
Right.
John will probably call back. He'll tell you about it, right?
Yeah.
So they would come around, and the number, well, they can't put in the paper,
Right.
okay? You
Yeah.
can't put today's daily number. So they came up with a novel idea.
Right.
You could either use the last digit of the stock market, the Dow Jones average, use the high, low, and the unchanged. Or you could use baseball, like the runs, hits, and errors, or something like that. A number that was randomly generated
Yeah.
that everybody could trust,
The
okay?
gambling that used to go on upstairs of Dominic's restaurant
Was legendary.
was legendary. I had a friend of mine's father.
We had one right over here, John.
Oh, really?
7th and Peach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there used to be some, when I was a young man and I worked the parking ramp, I'd go in there to get like some liquid refreshment, some pop or something. And you could hear them in the back, you know, going at it with the cards and it, you know.
They used to, a friend of mine's father walked out of there after a card game, $14,000 in his pocket. Winning.
He could have come out the other way.
Yeah, he could have came out there sobbing.
I think they paid Barboot up there. That was like a high
I
speed thing.
I know another place where they had was Third and German on the corner. It was at that time it was O'Brien's restaurant, and of course the American Legion was there. It was right on the corner, and
Is that near where Scotty's was?
right across the street from Scotty's. There used to be a serious one in there, and I know Dominic's had one. Dominic's was, I mean, those two places I know for sure, and they were not.
I'm not gonna say this on TV.
There were
but
the Goobas were hanging out in there.
that was another one.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking that too, but I didn't want to say that because they're still in business.
Let's see.
Yeah, I don't want to say that first. Yeah. Those two for but the bottom one not anymore.
Somebody could say, well, how do you know that, Kaz?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it wasn't hard to figure out in those days.
No. You when you see Cadillacs and everything parked on in front across the street from O'Brien's, well, I mean, where Scotty's is, you know what's going on. You know, it's no big secret. But the ones on Dominic's, I wish we could get some people from. I know they've actually passed away. Actually, a friend of mine's father passed away, but I used to hear stories about what was going on up there. But that place, yeah, for sure, that place still probably.
And as long as nobody got hurt, nobody, you know.
Yeah, no, are you kidding me? The cops were the ones that were betting the money over there, probably.
But there was one that all the local watering holes used to have slot machines too. You know, they were taken out years later, but
Here's the difference between that and like some of these bottle clubs popping up. Everything was kept in house. You didn't know they were there.
nobody was out shooting.
No one was out popping caps at each other.
Nobody had, if they had a problem with the neighbors, they took care of it. Right?
Those places, they hold the gun like this.
And they took care of the neighbors.
Some of those bottle clubs, that's like,
And if you had problems with the neighborhood,
it's hard to shoot when you're like.
if you had a problem with the neighborhood, the club took care of it. So they don't want any, what do you
That's
call it?
right.
Any attention.
Absolutely. Now these places that boom, 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 boom. I went to, I was right next door. I remember at the Trinity Club. So last Sunday, I went down there to watch the games because you've been inside there since that's really nice.
Yeah, they got their new extension.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful in there. And so I parked into the parking lot, and that new place is right there. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The place is packed, it's booming, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, what is going on? I forgot that was moving in there.
At the Trinity Club, you wouldn't know anybody.
This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
But except for the parking lot at the Trinity, you wouldn't know anybody's in there.
No. So see, that's why it does. When you look at the Trinity, it doesn't say Trinity Club. Nothing. It's not there. There's nothing.
No loud music.
No loud music. I don't even think there's windows for the most part.
Hardly any.
No. There's no windows. There's just the side door and the front door.
Should we try it?
Get this one in.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, caller.
Did I hear you gentlemen saying the bookies are going to lose money because of legalized gambling?
I don't think
No,
so.
I said I think it's cut into them a little bit, don't you?
No.
I don't think so either. Very little.
They pay better odds.
Oh, that's true.
And plus, you don't have to run up to the casino.
The only trouble you had, John, was in the old days.
In the old days,
Well,
my
I mean-
God, Third and German.
Yeah, but sometimes
I was
though,
just talking about that, yeah.
towards the end, because I wasn't there in the heyday, but towards the end it was getting a little tough, and every once in a while the payoffs were getting later and later because they were getting a little pressure put on them.
Yeah, very little pressure.
But there was some, but
I was just talking about
I remember that one guy, his name was Shuffles, remember him?
Shuffles? I remember black spat shoes. Right.
Shuffles come around, he looked like an old man that was, and he had this little book with him.
And but the thing is they kept it in-house. You didn't hear anything. They weren't shooting at each other.
Watch John. Hey, John, I got kicked out of D's one time, right?
Yeah.
My buddy and I, we went in the back there and we were trying to see, who was winning the baseball games. Mm-hmm. And we were advised that that's not what the board was for.
No
in
kidding.
a nice way,
Well, you go to D's, you could go to Leventon State, Lower East Side, Upper West Side.
Yeah, they had what, Ararat and
Dominic.
George was a great guy.
was Ararat too, right?
That's George Ararat.
Yeah, and then there was State Street News, right?
Yeah, Penn News.
Then I found out one day, my dad told me the sad news that my baseball coach in Little League, one of them, he wasn't selling magazines in the alleyway.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
He was behind the Shays,
Yeah.
and I used to see him, and I call, hey, coach, I'd say to my dad, Jesus, you make a lot of money selling magazines and papers? And my dad would have a little chuckle.
Yeah, imagine.
It's hell to find out your
Guy. So was your uncle. They both were great. Of course, I never got to meet too many of them.
But it was kind of, in the old days, everybody knew about it and nobody really got upset about it.
Because it was quiet. It wasn't.
Just down like from the old city hall, you'd go downstairs there, and there was a parlor down there.
Well, even some of the ladies, the women,
Yep.
they, you'd see them put a number down with the,
Yeah, penny here, penny there, but it added up.
Yeah, when you were a kid though, you didn't understand what that was. What they do, and your mother say, hey,
Yeah.
Later on, then you found out,
Doing? I was pretty well into that stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people were. I remember Third and German very well, John. You would
I
too.
gotta remember where they used to take orders for hubcaps from the CYS Club.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I forgot about the CYS.
Those are the good old days.
I used to sell, as a kid, for my school, I used to sell candy bars, and they let me sell them in the lobby there.
Where the CYS?
CYS Club down by Hammett. I made a fortune.
Oh, yeah, you would, especially on bowling night.
Tuesday nights, my mother and
every night of the week.
Every night of the week, there was something going on down there.
Yes.
And they'd just come in and say, here you go, how many, boom, boom, boom. I'd go through
One
boxes.
time, and the gentleman, he was an Italian, and he said, what are you doing, kid?
Yeah.
He said, I got an order for hubcaps, and the guy grabbed him by the nape of the neck, and he said, come with me. He said, I got a little advice for you, though. If you're going to steal something, steal the whole car.
Oh, jeez.
So we'll let you go on that note. I won't even tell you who the kid was.
If you tell me off the air.
He's having a birthday today.
Uh-oh.
Oh, boy.
So, and he's 39 again.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, have a great day.
You too, John.
I got a funny feeling. I know.
Yeah.
You like that? So, all in all, I think, when you look back, the old days were kind of funny, but.
Yeah. The difference was back then is that nobody shot each other outside.
No, that's true.
Nobody was mad and no fights, no nothing. There was alcohol there. I know there was, but nobody got stupefied outside. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, you talk about the old days. I got one for you. I used to work at Hammermill a long time ago in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And guess who took the numbers when you went to work? The guy who was in charge of plant protection.
Yeah.
He would take the numbers as they walked in and out. The people would come in and out. He would take the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody got hurt, really,
Yeah.
But
I miss the days of the hammer mill. I miss all my friends worked there. My family, my grandfather, they all worked at hammer
well,
mill.
when Erie was booming and he had all those factories,
I tell you
you'd
that
see all the clubs were loaded after work,
Kaz, as soon as hammer mill went down, the whole Lower East Side, because all the guys that worked at Hammer Mill, they all lived in those houses and they actually lived there.
Yeah.
So they took care of them, the grass was cut,
Well, not only
the houses
that,
were upkept.
You had a lot of, bars, taverns, restaurants.
They were
businesses.
successful businesses that people that own their houses treated differently than renters. Renters don't give a crap. That's why you need homeowners down in these certain areas.
We gotta find, did you win down there ever?
Do you have any luck?
Oh, I never played the numbers, but you're right, John. That whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
Look at all the businesses that are down and through there. Those
The bakery, the fish market,
East Avenue's a joke now.
West Avenue. I mean,
In fact, I had a friend of mine who owned a tavern down there.
just think about that.
In-
Lakeside?
No, he owned Carol Still.
Oh, Carol's, yeah.
right.
And when, he was a good friend of mine, right?
Yeah.
The day, Hammer Mill closed,
You had,
you might as well put a fork in his
had,
place,
yeah, what on, Swanee's is there now, and then the one at the other corner. You had, fish markets, you had bakeries down there, the ball fields between American Meter, the Hammer Mill.
Well, yeah,
Trocas,
then the
you know.
companies played softball at night. And so, the local establishments, made out.
Yeah, and you had all those factories down there, and the guys that worked in that neighborhood, like I grew up in my grandfather worked at Hammer Mill, so I grew up in the Lower East Side on Front Street. But all those people that worked there, they had the money to own those houses. So they would, put money into their house because they actually lived there. As soon as Hammer Mill pulled out,
Yeah.
that's when, then all those families moved. And then what happens to those houses? They get rented out. And people that rent, they don't care. They don't have a sense of territoriality because they don't actually own it. I worked in social service field. Let me tell you, Kaz, there's times where I would pull up to a house and look at the house and go, oh my God, I gotta go in there. Look at this dump. But when I go inside, it's clean. It's better than mine. And they got the nice rugs. People because they own the stuff inside. They don't own the grass. They don't own the windows and the roof and they don't care what it looks like because they don't own it. But when on the insides, it happens like a lot where they take care of it because they somehow, when that shut down, people rented because they all moved because there was no jobs. They had to move. And then this is what we have today. Still there, caller?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Oh, another thing, John. When the people who lived in that neighborhood, half of them walked to work. Very few had cars back in the 40s and 50s. And
Right.
No, you're right. When
They used to walk back and forth every day to work. That was it,
Well, my dad worked at Continental Rubber, and we lived at the time we were renting on Huron Street, because it was right after the war, and he was saving up to buy a house. But my dad got up in the morning, took his lunch bucket, and you would see the guys, literally walking down 16th Street, Cherry Street to work.
If you think about it, where he's talking about, you had Hammer Mill, American Meter, GE, and all those companies right in that area where the men made a good wage lived there.
Yep, and they walked home.
They lived there. So it's not like you rent, we're talking about these out-of-town people owning these houses, not doing anything, was they crumble. These guys lived there.
You go to Allentown, John, and you can see the houses they built right by the steel mill. They're all gone now, they're...
Oh, the steel mills are gone, so the houses...
Right in that neighborhood, too, you had Uniflow and Inland Container.
Yep. All those businesses, that thrived off of one another.
Man, I used to watch people walking to work down 18th Street, Cherry Street.
All the little markets they had down there.
Over 12th Street.
The bakery, you had the on-deck tap. Then you had the baseball fields there, too. Now, I was involved in that big time when I was younger. Like the on-deck and all those taverns over there. Got 1 minute left. And they, busy, packed all the time.
And they had very little trouble, those bars.
No, you have the Fulton Club, you have the one across the street. Can't remember the club. It's still
Slovak Club?
Slovak Club.
A club, Fulton Club,
Huzar's on 10th Street there. You have Bobango's there. You have on deck.
Well,
you had the place on 12th Street.
And then you went like on the west side of town, they came out of Continental, they went to Hector's,
Bobby's place back in the day, that's closed now. So without jobs, without people with money to spend, this is what you're gonna get.
And everybody made out.
And it's not even the people, Kat. It's not the fact that the people, they just don't own the property. They don't own it, so they don't take care of it.
Well, I agree with you on that, John, because, hey, the biggest problem, when we had 138,000 people in the city,
Yeah,
most of those people either, if they were renting, it was for a short term.
yeah.
But many people owned their homes, and yes, the neighborhoods were developing.
If you don't have a sense of territoriality in anything, you don't expect you don't take ownership, like, I did this, and I own it, I'm taking, then it's just gonna go,
You know,
that's what's happened down there.
my parents bought their
West
house.
side too, but,
My parents bought their house off a guy that was transferred when GE transferred to Louisville. Because there was a big gap. I mean, people left Erie like mad
yeah.
when GE transferred. But then new people came in.
I'll talk to you later.
Hey, thank you. Then new people came in and took those houses.
Yeah.
But now you're right. Now they're rentals. A lot of the place where I live, the neighborhoods turned into rentals.
See, that's where the land bank, that's, the whole premise of it is to take a property, let's say, because you want to start in the middle of the neighborhoods.
Right.
Okay, let's say you got a decent house here and you got an old rundown house right here. You go to this person that's in the nice house and say, listen, you want this house right here, we'll tear it down, you want to purchase the property. Then this way, you've taken that house out of there, which is like $14,000-$15,000. So now this property has value. So, and now with the 10-year, well, I don't know if that would count for the learner too. But now this person in this house owns his house and this property. So you not only have, you've made it more, you want to buy it, so then you have taxes coming in on both properties. Or let's say if you, in the land bank, you put money into a house, then you have more of an opportunity for somebody coming to buy that house to get it back on the tax rolls. That's the whole idea of how a land bank should be self-sufficient, which eventually will bring more money revenue in the long term than it would be to actually run the land bank itself. Now, the people running the land bank, they have to do it the right way. You have to find, people that, that's why you start in the middle areas, the midsections. Because then, let's say you got this house, nice house, you tore this dump down, so you got this spot, and then the house across the street, which may not be in the great areas, that property value goes up. Because now that eyesore is gone, you have a nice place, or they've put money in this place, which beautifies the neighborhood, which makes the value across the street.
That's what Erie's doing by buying up all that land.
Yeah,
Is if you're across the street from them,
correct. That's why you start in the middle areas, because then, let's say, because up here, let's say you have the high class area up there. So you buy across, the middle class, that you fix that up, then that makes the high class area go up more. It's a process. You start and then it spreads.
that's true.
We are way out of time, so Cass,
Yeah,
thanks
but
for
we had a
having me.
good time though.
Yeah, it's good show. Thanks for calling, guys.
We'll have to take some notes, drive around town a little bit.
Go play some bets somewhere.
Well, we get a,
So let's see. Today's show, we talked about nudity, gambling,
gentrification.
and gentrification.
Yeah. But next week, as things start changing around town,
Yeah,
and we can update on a lot of projects, what's going
there's a
on.
lot of good things going on. I tell you, drive around, especially over on Murderers Row, Millionaires Row over here. Man, I tell you, they are playing around. They look really good.
Well, if we go to other towns with similar millionaires rows,
Yeah.
and you see what's been done, it's really,
A lot of people, get on Joe Schember. I mean, I don't think he's doing a terrible job. We have a lot of good things going. He's worked with the community, and he doesn't hold grudges. He's put his hand out to the county. He's put his hand out to the state people, and everybody's working together.
I will say this.
Nothing's perfect.
we have a lot of hard work ahead of us for a
Hey.
long time.
We'll see what happens. Whenever you're ready, Mike.
I'll turn that off for you.
You have been watching Taxpayers Hotline, recorded live from the fabulous city of Erie, Pennsylvania.